Yo, pressure chord. What's up? You're listening to Zero to X. My name is Daniel, and today with me, as always,
Hey guys, my name is Amara.
was good. Was good.
I'm good, bro. It's like 6 a.m. now.
6 a.m. man. And you guys, you won't believe we had gotten like 4 minutes into. We are recording this podcast on a Sunday morning by
Sunday
6
best.
a.m. This is the second attempt because the first attempt got ruined by an alarm on my phone. So
Yeah,
like it just
Yeah.
stopped and gave up.
I guess that's the price of doing it in the morning.
Bro. Also, what you get when you wake up before your alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing now?
I'm good. I'm good. We were talking about how the year had gone for each of us. Think it might still be an interesting conversation to
Yeah.
bring our listeners into. For me, it's been humbling. It's been inspiring.
Mm.
It's been a good year,
Mm.
right? I felt it. I was a little more comfortable coming into my own
Mm.
as a person, which was something I haven't been able to say about like goal setting like the past couple of years. So like that was definitely like, and I think what we get to talk about today will kind of help me, not just our listeners,
Yeah.
help me as well,
Mm.
and hopefully our listeners like be more comfortable coming into our own. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway for the year was or is that I didn't give it all, quote unquote. Right? You know how I always say my own things that I want to die empty.
Yeah.
Like I will go to bed and sleep like a baby, knowing that there is nothing that I could have done that I didn't
Yeah.
do.
Understood.
Yeah. Not just in the number of things that I'm doing
Yeah.
or like the number of expressions, but in how I'm handling those expressions.
Yeah.
Like an example comes, Alex Hermosi did almost 19 different rewrites of the $100 million leads book.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing more he could have done.
Yeah. Yeah. He mentioned.
Literally nothing
Yeah.
more. There is no way that could have been better. Like, you know how authors come and say that, oh, they want to do 25-year anniversaries and they are rewriting things. I don't think Alex Hermosi will be doing that a lot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because like
Exactly.
everything he could drop, he
Quite literally
he
gave your
dropped
best.
literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't say that this year, and I'm not too hung up on it because I mean it just doesn't. It's not useful. It's not useful thinking. It's not useful energy to be hung up on what you didn't do. So
Yeah.
I think as I mentioned to you offline like some weeks back, and maybe I mentioned it on the podcast episode as well. The biggest thing for me right now for the end of the year, there's like, at the point of recording this podcast, we have like 5-6 weeks till the end of the year.
Yeah.
The biggest deal for me is developing conscientiousness, discipline, like as in some kind what you want work ethic.
Yeah.
That's literally what is this thing for me.
Yeah.
And I want to know that yes, I will go to bed a happy man. I will sleep the moment my head hits the pillow, knowing that I gave everything on that battlefield.
Yeah.
Like
I understand
that's where I want to be.
I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that.
So how's it been for you?
Well, it's been a good year. I will start by saying that, and it's pretty important because, I mean, you of all people know that I track. I track everything,
You do. That you do.
and like guys, and so when I say I track everything, I understand that this can't apply to everybody. People have different levels
Yeah.
of business. People have different levels of ability to commit to things.
Yeah.
But tracking has allowed me to see the growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, with workouts, I track the number of workouts I do in a week and the number of workouts I do in a quarter. And I have a grading system. I think I mentioned this on one of the very early podcasts.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
So I have this for workouts. I have this for trading. I have this for posting. I have this for journaling. I have it for tracking my soft skills and the things I'm doing to improve them and all of these things. So because of that, I know that 2023 has been a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I could also see how there were times when I had a pause here, I had a pause there.
Yeah.
And a pause here and a pause there ended up becoming something like 2 weeks of struggling. Because I mean, yeah, the pause was in the moment seemingly warranted, like and a good enough excuse to allow for a pause.
Got you.
But I saw how that slowed down the momentum I was on. I also saw how that affected the exponential returns of the commitment of time and energy and resources that I gave. And so I know that going into 2024, the one thing I'm on for 2024 is diligence. Like I'm not pausing anything for any reason. Except, although I'm not even going to say it. Because I'm not giving it an excuse. You get so
that's good. That's an interesting mindset.
So when I think about 2024, I just know that it's going to like that's like similar to you. It's going to be a whole Amara. What are you on? And this is mostly going to be seen with regards to people will only be able to tell this with regards to the things that I'm doing publicly and visibly. But it's going to be the same energy across everything. Thankfully, 2023 was kind of like a foundational year for allowing me to see how my systems operate and being able to get used to the operations of those systems. Do you get me? So 2024 is making sure that I keep the systems very oiled and well lubricated. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
I think it's a fantastic place to be. It's a fantastic place to be. Happy about how the year turned out for both of us. I wonder how it's been for our listeners.
Exactly. I think part of why it's beautiful that, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but part of why it's beautiful that we get to do this is because it gives our listeners the opportunity to introspect. It gives them the opportunity to look at their year as well. You guys just take some time to look at your year and
from a non-judgmental standpoint.
From a non-judgmental, exactly. You have your wins. You also had your struggles. And it's an opportunity to look at 2024 and see, okay, yes, how do I make sure that these struggles don't create the blockers that they did in the past year?
Well, Amara and I were talking yesterday night. Something became very apparent to me, and it was the thought of, I'm going forward with my life. I'm not going to make any mistake that I've made before.
Bro, that's so important.
That's just what was on my mind. Like, guys, there is how we can, like, being self-aware, being frank, being candid is something you can probably say Amara and I are a lot of. So it's like when you're thinking about your year, yes, we're saying don't do it from a judgmental standpoint. Acknowledge the wins, acknowledge the struggles, but also acknowledge the parts where it was irresponsibility, frankly. Like, there is no better way to put it. I don't want you to, yes, it's an area of improvement, but acknowledge it for what it's for. It was mostly self-imposed responsibility. I have a couple of those. You might have, right? So understanding for what it's for and find your way to making the decision that you will not make the same mistake twice. Like, work on that particular thing. Like, just before we went to bed, I was asking Amara something. I was just trying to find solutions to, okay, what's the setup for next year looking like, right? So I was like, okay, how did you build this? How did you build that? And he shared his story, and I tried to, as I would, deconstruct it to a logical formula that I could experiment with and maybe come share with you guys, like, if it worked, blah, blah, blah. So, like, that's what I've been actively on. But I was very, very certain of the fact that I do not want to make a mistake that I've made before. So there will come a time in the next week or two where I'm going to sit down and write my biggest L's. Either they were self-imposed or they just happened, right? And then understand what the lessons from these things have been. And with work, with ministry, with family, with relationships, with taking care of myself, all of those things, outline them and make sure that I do not make these mistakes again, because it's unnecessary. It's highly unnecessary, because odds are, like, it's not once I've made these mistakes, right?
That's a very valid way to think about things, because it's that thing where if you're not even aware that you've done this before, you can't even sidestep it on your future work and path.
Yeah.
So it's very important actually that you do that. I, on my own end, would really, really, really recommend a yearly review.
Yeah.
The thing is, and the thing is, as extensive as that might be, I understand that we can't cover what a yearly review would
Would
entail.
entail,
Yeah,
yeah.
but guys, I strongly recommend that you go through your year, ask yourself, what were my wins for this year? And yeah, I admittedly it will be easy to do this if you had some sort of record system.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, guys, it doesn't need to be a journal like Amara. It could be that, yeah, you are, let's say you are posting on social media,
Yeah.
and so you have records. Or
Yeah.
it could be your thankfully your iOS gallery.
Yeah.
You just zoom out and you just see January,
the year in
February,
picture, yeah.
March, and you see the images remind you of the things that happened in
Yeah.
that year. It
Yeah.
could be anything, but the record system is usually very helpful. So
Yeah.
do that. Find out what your wins and what your losses were. Find out what, just point like I did when I was answering how my year went. Point at something that you said this was a one cause that I know that if I take this away, I
Yeah.
fixed a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the 80-20 Pareto thing. What's that 20 thing that I need to solve once and
That's
for all?
that's a really important point.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a really important point. Thinking about the year, like I said, uh, I came a little more or a lot more into myself.
yeah.
Wasn't too bothered about how people would feel if I threw my weight around just a little more, and like that was a big thing for
Yeah.
me.
I remember coming into the year.
Yeah,
Guys, if you want context, listen to
yeah,
episode 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah,
You'll have context.
yeah. That was a big thing for me, and I still sense that there is a lot of work to be done in that regard. Still, let me share a story, and I think this segues very nicely into what we intended to talk about today.
Okay.
I remember going for a dinner for a company that I work for in my industry.
Okay.
I went with the co-founder of my company, my agency. We went to the company's dinner that we work with. And then when they were awarding the top performers of the company, all that was on my mind was, is this it? Is this it? Are these them? And I wasn't saying that from a point of pride or anything,
Okay.
but I was genuinely curious as to what made these people. I was giving myself or allowing myself off the hook. I was allowing myself off the hook, not off the hook per se, right? But I just wasn't insisting of myself as much because I thought, or somehow I imagined that there was something that was making these guys great at what they did. Yeah. But then getting to meet them, getting to talk to them, like I said, I like to quickly deconstruct what makes you, what makes you a high performer. I'm never going to shit on your work for lack of a better this thing. So, but in talking to them and hearing, I was like, all I could genuinely feel was, and don't get me wrong, don't take this wrong way, but it was an underwhelming sense of, is this it? Is this all there is to make this work? At the very least,
I think I
at
understand
this
that.
level, I was like,
I think I understand. I think I know what
finish.
Yeah, I think I know what that's like.
Really, and I was pissed I was grateful for that experience, obviously. If you know me, I honor high performers like to the highest possible degree, right?
Yeah.
But then seeing that, because I was like, finish.
If this is it, then
If this is it, what the hell have I been doing? What the hell haven't I been doing?
yeah.
Like, that was just what it was for me. And it's how we've seen it said or tweeted, depending, that somebody less smarter, less stronger, less anything that you want to think than you is pulling bigger moves and getting bigger results because they are doing it and they don't give two shits.
Yeah.
They are just doing.
Just
And honestly, it's been a long time practicing self-awareness and trying to figure out, okay, what are the blockers to me becoming the person that I want to be. So that's why like the win of coming more into my own this year is a really big deal for me. And I found out that timidity
Mm.
was one of the biggest blockers that I was facing. Obviously, it was a
Interesting.
mental, emotional thing, right?
Yeah.
Because of stuff that experiences that have happened like the past 5, 6, 7 years. I was able to,
Interesting.
yeah. But timidity, because Amara has seen my tweets deck. I have
Mm-hmm.
like as in, what's the difference between writing that thing in your notes and writing on Twitter straight? What's
Mm-hmm.
the literal difference between
Yeah.
that? But for whatever reason, you just find that to just press that tweet, to
Yeah.
just press that post,
Yeah.
to just ask that person, to
Yeah.
just make that call, to just design that deck, to
Mm-hmm.
just write out that business plan,
Yeah.
to just do that thing.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, you just don't do it. And people you would ascribe, and maybe rightfully so,
Mm.
as less talented, less smarter than you,
Mm-hmm.
less gifted, less well spoken
Mm.
than you are doing these things and like nobody's
Yeah.
sending.
Yeah.
Are doing these things and nobody's sending. I know what's crazy about this same company is that later on in the year there was a child they had a mini competition to see who was the best or the greatest or the best out of a particular thing. And the prize for the this thing was a trip,
Mm-hmm.
the one that I went on.
Yeah.
Obviously by that you know that I won the competition. But it was a thing where honestly, like to tell you the level of I was so over it.
Mm.
I just saw the competition again because of what I knew I was capable of, but for whatever reason I was not bringing to bear.
Yeah.
Immediately I saw the announcement for the competition. I promise you, bro. All I said was in my mind was, "It's true, Seth. I think a trip might help me."
Mm.
I promise you, I wasn't thinking second or third.
Mm.
I wasn't.
Mm.
Like I knew I had more than enough,
Mm-hmm.
like plenty. I had more than enough to win that thing in my sleep.
Mm.
It was what literally happened. I
Mm.
ended up winning. Like so casual. Even when they announced, I was like, not because of anything, but when you just know that this is what you carry, this is what you represent. Obviously, super grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, the trip was a very much needed trip
Yeah.
and whatever, right? But I'm just trying to say that in terms of like, it's not cap that the potential to win was not there.
Yeah.
The potential to have been as great was not there,
Yeah.
but whatever for whatever reason, that confidence to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
kind of wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. I completely understand that. Like, I see it in my industry as well, but I don't want to digress.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see it in my industry. Like, there's people pulling numbers, and you're just like, okay, what makes this person special? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a level of confidence. It's
Yeah.
a level of the ability to dare. The
Yeah.
ability to dare.
Yeah.
So, guys, that will take us into a topic that we think is going to be very beneficial for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even for you guys as well. And it's the mindset to build self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mindsets
Yeah.
to build self-confidence.
Yeah.
And based off of your story right now, what do you think would be a good place to
Two
explore
words.
this
Two
conversation?
words. I'm him.
I'm him.
That's it.
Mm,
Like, it's two words. I'm him.
mm,
Like to say it the way Dwayne Michael Carter would say, that's Bill Wayne. Say, I'm
mm-hmm,
the shit.
mm.
That's just it. And this comes from
I was just about to ask.
legitimately putting in the work
Yes, I was just about to ask
to
that.
build that skill set, to
Yeah.
build your ability with that thing.
Mm-hmm,
So, for instance, now, the industry that I told you that I'm working with, there is a way I'm doing it. There is a sense of calling I have for that industry. I'm not doing it as casually as the other hundreds or thousands of people in that industry
yeah,
are doing it.
yeah,
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
There's a sense of calling. There is how I think about it,
yeah.
right?
I understand you.
And I started accepting more of that this
Mm-hmm,
year, coming into this year. And it was just like, but I know like the work I've done towards like the skill set the past couple of years, reading books, practicing out in person, blah, 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 all of these things. I knew the things that made up the makeup of being able to do that thing at a pretty decent level, not elite, because that's different.
Yeah.
But at a pretty decent level,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you are fairly remarkable. I knew that I had it, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't doing.
Yeah.
Do you get? But then, like I said, thankfully, I'm thankful I told both stories early before you brought this up.
Yeah.
There was is this all there is to this? There was that. Then there was when I just applied myself by the littlest. Like if I go into the details of the story, you'll realize how crazy it was. It was a 3-step this thing.
Yeah, there's no need.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
bro. It was on. I was like, no, I did this casually. Like,
Yeah. I think I'm him is actually a very good place to start.
I'm him.
And if you're now wondering, but what of those of us that don't feel like I'm him? I think one thing you could do would be, first of all, start by setting small goals in your life. Score. There's a way we used to say it on the podcast. Score points in favor of who you want to become.
100%.
Score points in favor of who you want to become. So start by setting small goals.
Yep.
Yeah. When you set those goals, achieve those goals.
Yeah.
When you achieve them, celebrate your victories. You're scoring points in favor of who you want to become. There is a version of you that you know is him. Like that.
Bro, see, I promise you, there is that version.
There's a version of you that is.
It's not a thing about being modest. It's not about being humble.
There's a version of you in future that is him.
Incredibly,
in fact, in your present, that is him.
100%.
So when you score points, and you celebrate those victories, it allows you to identify with that version of yourself.
Yeah.
And over time, you begin to actually feel like, yes, when I say I'm him, it's not because there's isn't anything. There's evidence to back up.
Hard evidence.
So in your day-to-day, figure out the things that allow you to say that in this industry or in this particular endeavor, by doing these small things, I can begin to say, yes, I'm him. Yeah. And then when you do that, you might experience some setbacks along the way. Yeah. Don't allow that to stop you. Like because I understand that this is the thing people deal with, the ability to see negative self-talk. Yeah. Or to have negative self-talk. Yeah. And not know how to set it aside or even bin it completely. True. When you come up, when you're faced with negative self-talk, make sure you record, guys. Find a way to record those wins. You look at the negative self-talk. Oh yeah, but like I haven't done so and so level. I haven't done extra level.
Receipts, bro.
But I have receipts.
Receipts, bro.
I have receipts.
Totally get it. Totally get it.
Like you begin, it's a confidence, like it just begins to well up from inside. It just really begins. Another thing I would say with regards, and I think about it with regards to Daniel's story, I think it's a very solid point. Take action despite fear.
100%.
Like the fear, the thing is, if guys, I think I said it. When did I say it? What episode was that? When I put my first post on Instagram.
That was the first couple. First couple.
Yeah, and I mentioned how like there was all these things in my head, guys. Honestly, there was all these things in my head, and Babe just told me, "It's in your head," and it doesn't seem like advice. It seems like it's a cliche thing to say, but I think because of who it came from, and knowing that this person knows me more than most people do, I took it a little more seriously and tried to say, okay, if it's in my head, let me just put something and see. Yeah. I put one thing out. I didn't like, that was one of the big reasons why I turned off all the metrics. I don't want to be seeing the likes. I don't want to, because I know that I have my own internal struggles and I don't want to allow these struggles to have room for manifestation. So like for whatever cause, whatever thing I'm battling with, I'm going to put those things aside. Post despite fear. And I can't even really say it was fear. But there's a root cause that you could in some way associate fear.
It's the way I can't say it's fear, but for whatever reason,
you can in some way associate it to fear. Because what is that cowardice?
That's why I called it timidity. Because it's like you have it to give, but for whatever reason, you just don't give it. So timidity is the placeholder word I used to.
Yes, it's a very solid placeholder.
Yeah, I used to represent that. Love what you said about like the past 2 points that you've raised. And I think this presents a surefire start to building that confidence. And I tell something I've accepted a lot more recently in my life. I wasn't running away from it in the first place. Yeah. But accepted means that I had a paradigm shift that further impressed that thought on my mind was the ability to start from zero. Like the humbleness to just start from zero, to realize, okay, I don't have results for this, and I'm just area, and I'm just going to build them.
Yes,
like I trust my capacity to do.
Yes,
to work.
Yeah,
and it starts by doing this one small thing every day. Like we said this before, building that self-efficacy where you can trust yourself to do. You like yourself, you respect yourself enough because you know you can start and continue and finish. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Building that ability is really, really important, right?
Yeah.
So this came about because I had this thing where I told Amara about this yesterday, where it's like I kind of know how things end up turning out just from the fact that I'm a very observant person. I read, I observe, I think, and it's just so been that 9 out of 10 times my assessment of a particular situation turns out to be accurate. Especially over the long run, which is where it matters the most. So sometimes I share my thoughts with friends or people that might want to hear my 2 cents about things, and maybe they take it, maybe they don't, right? But then it was a little frustrating to see that you tell a friend or something like how you think about a particular situation, obviously solicited, right? You're not just barging into that person's life and saying, solicit your thoughts about something, and then you give your words or your thoughts, and then you don't necessarily see them take action on it. Like, but they're your friend, you just like try to be there for them and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, the part that I found really interesting and maybe slightly frustrating was all of a sudden they then, couple weeks, couple months down the line, come back and tell you that someone they met, maybe someone or a person of higher regard, or essentially more results and evidence. That's what it boils down to.
Summary.
That's what it boils down to. More results and evidence in their lives. Right? Said this exact same thing that you told them, and they are looking like it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Bro.
Do you understand? I found it interesting, right? I cared more about the fact that person had heard it from someone they considered important enough for them to actually listen and take action. So like that was always what I chose to take away from it. But at some point in time, or a couple of times, I had to ask myself, why did my advice not necessarily get through to this person? Even though myself and whoever they eventually heard it from said pretty much the same thing. Why didn't it get through? And all it could boil down to was evidence.
Yeah, it's evidence, man.
It's evidence.
It's evidence.
It's results, it's showings, it's doings. That's pretty much what it was. And then from then, like this happened literally over the weekend. I accepted the fact, and this is a thing that I noticed for like the past 5 years. I'm not even joking. But then just yesterday, like the past week, there was a series I'd been seeing, and I could see how evidence was necessary, even important. It's not just words. It's not just talking. It's doing as well, the capacity to produce results in a fairly remarkable way, if not spectacular. And I was like, you know what? I'm very, very happy to be at the 0 position in my life right now. And I will still share my thoughts and whatever thinking or help I can render. And I'm not going to be too hung up on the results of whether like they listen or not. But I know, and not for ego's sake, because sometimes it gets annoying being right. Because it means that if you're right, it means your friends didn't listen to your advice and they found themselves in situations that you'd rather they don't be. So it's like, I don't mind starting from a 0 position, sharing my thoughts. Anybody that benefits from it's great. If they don't take it, I'm not going to be bothered about that. But I know that the time will come where my results will be undeniable. Where my results will be immutable.
That happens by slowly scoring points.
Honestly, that's it. It's like slowly putting in the work.
Exactly.
Slowly putting in the work.
Setting goals, hitting those goals. What you're doing, first of all, is you're setting a precedence in your head that you are the kind of person who starts stuff, like you said, goes through them and finishes them.
100%.
When you set small goals and you achieve them, that's what you're doing. And before you know, you can go out and you can confidently say that if I take up something, I'm going to see through to completion.
Yeah.
And you can't even begin to understand how powerful that is for your thinking.
Yeah.
Because then that allows you to know that no matter how big the goal is, once you set your mind to do it, you will finish it.
That really is it.
Yeah. Like, another thing I would really add to this with regards to what you've said, and I think it's something that we know between me and you has been really helpful, is this brotherhood.
100%.
So for some people, it will be their family space or the people, the close friends they have around them. But it's important that you identify people who are supportive of what you are 100%. Trying to do for yourself.
That's incredibly important.
That's because that helps to build the mindsets that are already growing. These things are already budding from within you, and they need to sprout and take form. And so it's very important that you are not surrounded by people who don't value the thing you are trying to work on for yourself.
Yeah.
And very true. Need to be very uplifting.
Very true.
Super very important. True. So like I said, for us it's just brotherhood. And it's also my own siblings as well.
Yeah. Same.
Though same. Though younger, but like they're actually really
they're on it.
Yeah, they're on it. They're on it.
I know we have like maybe a couple minutes to like wrap this up, but I think there is a subgroup of people that I think we should also try to address. Obviously we can't address everybody's nuances and idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
But I think for the advice we've given so far would help a decent majority of people. But then I imagine, and this just occurred to me while we were speaking, I imagine that there are people who already have the results, but for whatever reason, the self-talk in their head
is heavy.
It's just
negatively.
Like you can see, like the things that these people have done will literally astound you.
That imposter syndrome thing, man.
It will literally astound you, and
I like this.
Yeah,
I like this.
And
I like this.
Like they have the results, they have the evidence.
Let me speak on this.
Yeah,
guys, you know I want to speak on this. I don't think I've ever shared this on the podcast, so I'm kind of excited. It's not easy to find stuff we've ever shared on the podcast.
actually.
But this reminds me of a post. I won't mention the guy's name. But he used to be a very close friend of mine, but now like, life happens where everybody's busy.
Yeah,
and so like. No complaints there. Yeah, but he got you know him. Okay. He got quite big on Instagram. Yeah. A number of K of followers. Yeah. So he got quite big on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to start with my Instagram. And I don't follow him, but Instagram did its thing. And I somehow found myself on one of his posts. And it was a post on imposter syndrome. And he said the thing about imposter syndrome and the reason why we look at it for this big thing is because it's who we are trying to address. It's framing of who you're trying to address. Think about this. Yeah. Let's say your name is Mark. Yeah. So Mark, you got from 0 to 10. Yeah. That's results. In fact, Amara might be looking at you, Mark, right now and be like, bro, that's crazy. Like, let's say in our industry, 0 to 10 is actually a really big deal. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In our industry, there's also people who have done 0 to 30. Do you get me? But we know, all of us know that 0 to 10 is a big deal. But because you, Mark, know that you've not done 10 to 30 yet, you feel like you haven't done anything. But you have by every right, by a global standard, you have evidence. Stop looking at the people who have done 0. You can't serve them. For the most part. The people who the people who really appreciate your evidence are the people who are still at 0 and 1 and 2 and 3. So think about it like this. You think that you must get to 100 before you begin to talk.
This is so true.
You think you must get to 30 or 50 before you begin to open your mouth and say, yes, I am him.
This is so true.
But really, if you think about the people who are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you have a ridiculous amount to give.
That's the truth.
You have a ridiculous amount to give.
That's the truth.
And so I think it's the framing of who you're looking at.
Yeah.
As you continue to give those people, and the thing is, the beautiful thing about it is, and because I am in this space as well, I can relate to it.
Yeah.
As you continue to give those people, they continue to be a lot. Let me phrase it correctly. As you continue to give those people, they are so appreciative of what you have that it begins to actually like
Register in
sit
your
in your
head.
head.
Oh,
Register in your head.
I
Like,
kind of
I kind of sabi.
I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Not taking away from the fact that there's still work to be done.
100%.
But that allows you, it allows you so much
Yeah.
to not feel like, oh yes, I don't know my stuff, I'm not deserving of anything. It's because you're thinking that you must serve the audience that is between 50 and 100.
Yeah.
Do you get me? But your 10 is what somebody needs to transform their life.
That's true.
Like, if they have your 10, they're made.
Bro.
They're made. Like,
I hear that.
I need you guys to understand that I'm not thinking about 10 like something small. Like, by a global standard and global scale, you have achieved a lot.
Yeah.
Did you get me?
Yeah.
So think about what your 10 can do for somebody's life. And you will feel less and less like,
yeah.
It's the framing.
I think that's a very, very, very useful, very important way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Right. In addition to that, I wanted to also re-gig the point you said about environment and the friendships, the meaningful relationships that kind of help.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so for the people that they just, no matter what you say, no matter what they do, regardless of the mountain of evidence that they have, they just will not feel like I'm him or I'm that guy or I'm that girl. I think it's a thing about, number one, the self-talk, and the self-talk sometimes, like Amar has incredibly pointed out, just reframing the entire logic of the conversation.
Reframe it in your
helps a lot. Something else you could also try to do would be the right environments and relationships around you.
So important. So important. If you put
The
the
right
seed
relationships and
in
environments
clay soil,
around
you are giving it work.
Yeah.
You are the seed. Put yourself in loamy soil. Surround yourself with the right environment.
Yeah. Like if you're able to do that, like eventually if you start to believe what they're saying, because you're producing results anyway. So I mean,
guy, your circle will help you, sir.
See,
they will help you guys.
Producing results in anyway, and if you come out of your head enough, it starts to feel good. You start to believe them.
Yeah.
Right. So, but guys, we thought it would be a good idea to share this because I know the personal struggles I've had with this in the past. Amara's had some version of it.
I've had some version, guys. And like I said, I've never shared this one on the podcast.
Yeah.
There was a lot in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay, I know why now in retrospect.
Yeah. No, it'll be
crazy.
the same thing. Like you just find that there is nothing tricky about this. Why haven't I been doing this before? Right.
Exactly.
They don't have two heads. Mr. Beast doesn't have two heads.
No. See, you went far. Think, guys, for our listeners, think about your age mates.
Yeah.
Your classmates.
Yeah.
The ones that they are doing crazy things. And when I say crazy things, they are not things that require a different level of thinking. When I say thinking, I mean like thinking with regards to your hard skills. Do you get me? You can see that there's no hard skill difference per se.
Yeah.
Then definitely maybe you have to learn some video editing here or maybe some tech skill here. Things that you can pick up.
Literally.
So like they're not that big.
Yeah.
And you're looking at this person, and this person is pulling a crowd on LinkedIn. This person is pulling a crowd on
Twitter, on Instagram.
This person is pulling, and you're like, guy, we are in this together.
Yeah, like what's going on?
Like what's going
that
on?
should serve as inspiration.
It should serve as inspiration and like
the opening that
challenge.
This is
possible.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So I think we've been able to help a couple of people out with the thoughts that we have shared. As always, guys, we are rooting for you, for your successes, for our successes. Our community thing is getting better. We'll get better, and we'll
cross the major milestone this week.
Yeah.
We crossed the major milestone this week. So yeah, ZeroX is making moves. We're thankful for you guys. We're thankful for you guys.
Very thankful, and we can't wait to grow and share our plans for expanding our community, expanding our reach, because we just think that maybe the world is a better place because Daniel and Amara are sharing their thoughts. There'll be that 1, 2, 3 people that, I resonate with this. And yeah. So as always, guys, thank you so much for making this a part of your day.
So much,
and
guys.
we will see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.